Whispers of Ravenswood, the Awakening Legacy. My dear friends, gather round, for I have a tale that will captivate your imagination and stir your very soul. It's a story of magic, mystery, and a destiny centuries in the making. And you, my clever listeners, are about to embark on a journey that will challenge everything you thought you knew about reality. Picture this, a crisp autumn morning in London, where the hustle and bustle of the city fades into the background as we zoom in on a small, cozy flat. There, we find Sarah Blackwood, a 28-year-old librarian with a passion for books and a secret longing for adventure. Little does she know, her life is about to change forever. As Sarah sips her morning tea, a letter arrives, but not just any letter. This one is different, my friends. The envelope is yellowed with age, sealed with a wax stamp that crumbles at her touch. And within its pages lies a revelation that will send shivers down your spine. You see, Sarah has inherited a manor. But not just any manor, oh no! This is Ravenswood Manor, a place shrouded in mystery and steeped in magic. It's a mansion that holds secrets so dark and powerful they've been hidden away for generations. And Sarah, our unsuspecting heroine, is the key to unlocking them all. Now, I know what you're thinking. Just another haunted house story, right? But trust me, my astute listeners, this is so much more. As Sarah steps into Ravenswood Manor, she'll uncover a legacy that spans centuries, face challenges that will test her very sanity, and discover powers within herself that she never knew existed. You'll meet a cast of characters so vivid, you'll swear they're right here with us. There's Lily, Sarah's long-lost cousin with a mysterious past. Ezra, the gruff groundskeeper who knows more than he lets on. And the enigmatic spirits of Ravenswood itself, whispering secrets in the dark. But beware, my friends, for not all is as it seems in Mist Haven. There are forces at work here, ancient and powerful, that will stop at nothing to keep the truth buried. And as Sarah delves deeper into her family's history, she'll uncover a curse that threatens not just her world, but another realm entirely. I promise you this, by the time her tale reaches its climax, you'll be on the edge of your seats, hearts racing, as Sarah faces a choice that will determine the fate of two worlds. And you, my clever listeners, will have pieced together clues along the way, unraveling the mystery right alongside her. So, are you ready to step into the world of Ravenswood Manor? To uncover secrets long buried and face truths that will shake the very foundations of reality? Then lean in close, my friends, for our story begins on that fateful day when Sarah Blackwood received a letter that would change everything. An unexpected inheritance. The letter arrived on a dreary Tuesday morning, its parchment envelope yellowed with age and bearing a wax seal that crumbled at Sarah Blackwood's touch. She hadn't received a piece of mail like this in, well, ever. The contents were even more surprising. Sarah, a 28-year-old librarian living in bustling London, had inherited a manor house from a great-aunt she'd never even heard of. Ravenswood Manor, Sarah murmured, tracing her finger along the elegant script. In the village of Mist Haven. The solicitor's letter explained that her reclusive great-aunt, Agatha Ravenswood, had passed away with no direct heirs. As the closest living relative, Sarah now owned a piece of history and a mystery. Curiosity gnawed at her. Why had she never heard of this aunt? Why had her parents never mentioned Ravenswood Manor? The questions multiplied, and Sarah knew there was only one way to answer them. 2 weeks later, she found herself on a train bound for the countryside, her small suitcase packed with clothes and her favorite books. As the London sprawl gave way to rolling hills and mist-shrouded forests, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. She was leaving behind everything familiar, venturing into the unknown. The train whizzed to a stop at a tiny station that seemed frozen in time. A weathered sign proclaimed welcome to Mist Haven in faded letters. Sarah stepped onto the platform, immediately enveloped by the damp chill of early autumn. Miss Blackwood? A gruff voice startled her. An elderly man with a bushy white beard approached, leaning heavily on a gnarled walking stick. "I'm Ezra, the groundskeeper. I've come to take you to Ravenswood." Sarah nodded, suddenly at a loss for words. As they drove through winding country lanes in Ezra's ancient truck, she caught glimpses of a village that seemed untouched by the modern world. Thatched roof cottages huddled together, and Sarah could have sworn she saw faces peering out from behind lace curtains, watching her pass. "Not many newcomers in Mist Haven," Ezra commented, as if reading her thoughts. "Folks here keep to themselves, mostly. Your aunt, she was the same way." "I never knew her," Sarah admitted. "My parents never mentioned her." Ezra's bushy eyebrows rose, but he said nothing more. They turned down a long, overgrown drive, and Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Ravenswood Manor loomed before them, a sprawling Victorian mansion of weathered stone and twisting ivy. Turrets spiraled towards the gray sky, and a multitude of windows stared out like watchful eyes. "Welcome home, Miss Blackwood," Ezra said, his tone unreadable. As Sarah stepped out of the truck, a gust of wind swept through the overgrown gardens. For a moment, she could have sworn she heard a whisper on the breeze, a voice both familiar and strange. "Welcome back, Sarah. We've been waiting for you." Whispers in the walls. Sarah's first night in Ravenswood Manor was a restless one. The house creaked and groaned around her, settling into unfamiliar rhythms. Her bedroom, a cavernous space dominated by a four-poster bed, felt both opulent and oppressive. Moonlight filtered through heavy velvet curtains, casting strange shadows on the walls. Sleep came in fits and starts, punctuated by vivid dreams. In one, Sarah found herself wandering the manor's endless corridors, searching for something she couldn't name. In another, she stood in the overgrown garden, watching as the ivy crawled up the walls, spelling out words she couldn't quite read. She woke with a start, sunlight streaming through a gap in the curtains. For a moment, Sarah was disoriented, the unfamiliar surroundings sending a jolt of panic through her. Then, slowly, the events of the previous day came back to her. This was her home now, as strange as that seemed. After a quick breakfast of tea and toast, the kitchen, thankfully, had been stocked with basic supplies. Sarah set out to explore. The manor was even larger than it had appeared from the outside, with countless rooms branching off from winding hallways. Many were still shrouded in dust covers, preserved like museum exhibits. In what must have been her great-aunt's study, Sarah found shelves upon shelves of leather-bound books. Her librarian's heart soared at the sight. But it was a small, leather-bound journal on the desk that caught her attention. The cover was worn smooth with age, and when Sarah opened it, she recognized her aunt's elegant handwriting from the will. October 31st, 1962. The voices are growing louder. They whisper of secrets hidden in the walls, of a truth I'm not sure I want to face. But I must know. I must understand why our family has been bound to this place for generations. Sarah's brow furrowed. What voices? What secrets? She flipped through the journal, finding more cryptic entries, references to family legends and local folklore. One name appeared repeatedly, Evelyn Ravenswood, an ancestor from the 17th century. A sharp knock at the door made Sarah jump, nearly dropping the journal. Ezra stood in the doorway, his craggy face etched with concern. Begging your pardon, Miss Blackwood, but there's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent. Sarah followed Ezra to the manor's imposing front door. A woman about her own age stood on the threshold, her red hair wild in the wind that had picked up outside. Her green eyes were wide with a mixture of excitement and fear. You must be Sarah, the woman said, extending her hand. I'm Lily Thornfield. I think we might be cousins. Sarah's head spun. Another relative she'd never known about? I'm sorry, I don't understand. My parents never mentioned any family here. Lily's smile was sad. There's a lot your parents didn't tell you, I'm afraid. But that's why I'm here. There are things you need to know about Ravenswood Manor, about our family, about the curse. Curse? Sarah echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. Lily nodded grimly. The Ravenswood Curse. It's why your aunt lived as a recluse. It's why this village seems trapped in time. And now that you're here, well, things are about to change. For all of us. As if on cue, a roll of thunder sounded in the distance. The wind howled through the trees, and for a moment, Sarah could have sworn she heard that whispering voice again. The past is never truly buried. The truth will out, Sarah Ravenswood. The truth will out. Echoes of the past. Sarah ushered Lily inside, her mind reeling from the revelations. They settled in the manor's grand drawing room, where a fire crackled in the massive stone hearth, pushing back the autumn chill. Ezra brought them tea, his weathered hands steady as he poured, before excusing himself with a knowing look. Start from the beginning, Sarah said, her voice steadier than she felt. What's this about a curse? Lily took a deep breath, her fingers tracing the delicate pattern on her teacup. It goes back to the 17th century, to our ancestor Evelyn Ravenswood. She was accused of witchcraft by the villagers of Mist Haven. Sarah's eyebrows shot up. Witchcraft? But surely that was just superstition? That's what I thought too, at first, Lily said with a wry smile. But the more I've learned about our family history, the less certain I've become. Evelyn was different, you see. She had abilities. She could heal the sick, predict the weather, even speak to the dead, if the stories are to be believed. And the villagers feared her for it, Sarah guessed. Lily nodded. They tried to burn her at the stake, but on the night of her execution, a freak storm hit the village. Lightning struck the pyre, and in the chaos, Evelyn escaped. She fled to Ravenswood Manor, which was just being built at the time. The villagers pursued her, but when they reached the manor, Lily's voice dropped to a whisper. Everyone vanished. Evelyn, the mob, all of them, gone without a trace. A chill ran down Sarah's spine that had nothing to do with the drafty old house. What happened to them? No one knows for sure. But ever since that night, strange things have happened in and around Ravenswood Manor. Time seems to move differently here. People report seeing ghosts, hearing whispers, and every generation, one Ravenswood descendant is called back to the manor. Called back? Sarah echoed. It always happens the same way, Lily explained. A distant relative, someone who's never even heard of Ravenswood, suddenly inherits the estate. They come here, drawn by curiosity or fate. And then she trailed off, her gaze distant. And then what? Sarah pressed. Lily met her eyes, her expression grave. They disappear. Just like Evelyn and the villagers all those centuries ago. Your great-aunt Agatha was the last. She came here 30 years ago, lived as a recluse, and then vanished without a trace last month. Sarah's mind raced, trying to process this fantastical tale. Part of her wanted to dismiss it as an elaborate hoax or local superstition. But something deeper, an instinct she couldn't explain, told her Lily was telling the truth. Why are you telling me all this? Sarah asked. Why now? Because you're different, Sarah, Lily said, leaning forward. You're the first Ravenswood in generations to be born with the gift. Like Evelyn, you have abilities you probably don't even realize yet. And I think you might be the key to breaking the curse. As if in response to Lily's words, the lights in the drawing room flickered. The fire in the hearth sputtered and died, plunging the room into shadow. And there, in the darkness, Sarah saw something that made her blood run cold. A figure, translucent and shimmering, stood in the corner of the room. It was a woman in old-fashioned dress, her face both young and ancient. She raised a spectral hand, pointing directly at Sarah. The time has come, the apparition whispered, her voice echoing as if from a great distance. The cycle must be broken. Only you can set us free, Sarah Ravenswood. And then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure vanished. The lights came back on, the fire roared back to life, and Sarah found herself gripping the arms of her chair, her heart pounding. Lily's face was pale, her eyes wide. You saw her too? She whispered. Sarah nodded, unable to find her voice. That was Evelyn, Lily said, her voice filled with awe and fear. And she's chosen you, Sarah. The question is, what will you do now? As the gravity of her situation settled over her, Sarah realized that her life had irrevocably changed. The quiet existence she had known was gone. In its place was a mystery centuries in the making, family legacy shrouded in magic and tragedy, and a choice that could alter the fabric of reality itself. The wind outside picked up, whistling through the eaves of Ravenswood Manor. And in that sound, Sarah could have sworn she heard voices, dozens, hundreds of voices, all calling out to her, pleading for release, for understanding, for an end to their supernatural exile. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. "I need to know more," she said, her voice growing stronger with each word. "About Evelyn, about the curse, about these abilities you say I have. If I'm going to break this cycle, I need to understand it." Lily nodded, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "That's why I'm here. To help you uncover the truth." "But Sarah," she added, her tone cautious, "be careful. The forces at work here are powerful and ancient. The curse won't give up its hold easily." As if to emphasize Lily's warning, a bone-deep chill swept through the room. The whispers grew louder for a moment, a cacophony of spectral voices that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "The past and present intertwine," they seemed to say. "Secrets buried, truths divine. Seek the key in pages old, where Ravenswood's tale is told." And then, as quickly as it had come, the otherworldly chorus faded, leaving behind only the crackle of the fire and the pounding of Sarah's heart. She exchanged a look with Lily, seeing her own mix of fear and determination reflected in her newfound cousin's eyes. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever dangers the curse might pose, Sarah knew she couldn't turn back now. The mystery of Ravenswood Manor had ensnared her, just as it had generations of her family before her. But this time, Sarah vowed, the outcome would be different. She would unravel the secrets, face the ghosts of the past, and find a way to break the curse that had held her family in its grip for centuries. Little did she know, the true test of her resolve and her newfound powers was only just beginning. The hidden library. The next morning dawned gray and misty, the grounds of Ravenswood Manor shrouded in a ghostly fog that seemed to muffle all sound. Sarah woke early, her dreams having been filled with whispered voices and fleeting shadows. The events of the previous day felt almost unreal in the pale light of morning, but the determined set of her jaw as she dressed proved that her resolve hadn't wavered. Lily had stayed the night in one of the manor's many guest rooms, and the two women met for breakfast in the cavernous kitchen. As they sipped strong tea and nibbled on toast, they began to formulate a plan. "We need to start with research," Sarah said, her librarian's instincts kicking in. "There must be records, family histories, something that can give us more information about Evelyn and the origins of the curse." Lily nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. "Aunt Agatha kept extensive records, from what I understand. But finding them might be a challenge. This house is full of secrets, Sarah. Rooms that appear and disappear, doors that open to different places depending on the time of day." As if to prove Lily's point, a low rumble echoed through the manor at that moment. It wasn't quite the sound of shifting foundations or settling timber. It was deeper, more resonant, as if the very bones of the house were rearranging themselves. "We should start in the study," Sarah decided, pushing away her half-eaten breakfast. "That's where I found Aunt Agatha's journal yesterday." The two women made their way through the twisting corridors of Ravenswood Manor, the floorboards creaking beneath their feet. As they walked, Sarah could have sworn the paintings on the walls were watching them, the eyes of long-dead Ravenswood ancestors following their progress. When they reached the study, however, Sarah stopped short in the doorway. The room was different. The desk where she found the journal was gone, replaced by towering bookshelves that stretched from floor to ceiling. The air was thick with the musty scent of old paper and leather bindings. This isn't the same room," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. Lily's eyes were wide with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "I told you, the house has a mind of its own. I think it's trying to help us." They stepped into what could only be described as a hidden library. Thousands of books lined the shelves, their spines bearing titles in languages Sarah had never seen before. Ancient scrolls were piled on tables, and glass cases held artifacts that looked centuries old. As they ventured further into the room, a particular volume caught Sarah's eye. It was a massive tome bound in dark leather with no title on its spine. But something about it called to her, a faint whisper at the edge of her consciousness. With trembling hands, Sarah reached for the book. The moment her fingers touched the leather, a jolt of energy coursed through her body. The book seemed to pulse with an inner light, and as Sarah opened it, the pages began to turn of their own accord. "Sarah?" Lily's voice sounded distant, muffled. "Sarah, what's happening?" But Sarah could barely hear her cousin. Her entire focus was on the book before her, its pages a blur of symbols and arcane script. Suddenly, the pages stopped turning, settling on a detailed illustration of a woman who could only be Evelyn Ravenswood. The portrait seemed to come alive under Sarah's gaze. Evelyn's eyes, rendered in exquisite detail, appeared to lock onto Sarah's. And then, impossibly, the painted lips began to move. At last, Evelyn's voice echoed in Sarah's mind. "The one who can hear. The one who can see. You've come home, child." Sarah stumbled back, the book falling from her hands. As it hit the floor, the strange energy dissipated, and she found herself back in the hidden library, Lily's concerned face swimming into focus. "What happened?" Lily asked, steadying Sarah with a hand on her arm. "You went completely still for a moment, and your eyes, they were glowing." Sarah shook her head, trying to clear the fog from her mind. I saw her. Evelyn. She spoke to me." As Sarah recounted her vision, Lily's expression grew more and more astonished. "This is incredible," she breathed. "Sarah, do you know what this means? You're not just connected to the Ravenswood legacy, you're the key to unlocking its secrets." But before Sarah could respond, a deep groan reverberated through the manor. The bookshelves began to shift and move, revealing a hidden doorway in the far wall. "I think," Sarah said slowly, "the house wants us to go deeper." Exchanging a look of mingled excitement and trepidation, the two women approached the newly revealed passage. As they stepped through, torches along the walls flickered to life, illuminating a spiral staircase that descended into darkness. "Where do you think it leads?" Lily whispered. Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "To answers, I hope. And maybe to Evelyn herself." With each step down the winding staircase, Sarah could feel the weight of centuries pressing in around her. The air grew cooler, heavy with the scent of earth and old stone. And always, just at the edge of hearing, were the whispers, fragments of long-forgotten conversations, echoes of lives lived and lost within the walls of Ravenswood Manor. At the bottom of the stairs, they found themselves in a circular chamber. The walls were lined with more bookshelves, these filled with ancient-looking tomes and scrolls. But it was the center of the room that drew their attention. There, hovering a few inches above a stone pedestal, was a glowing orb. Within its swirling depths, Sarah could see flashes of images, faces, places, moments in time. The Ravenswood chronosphere, Lily gasped. I thought it was just a legend. Sarah approached the orb, drawn by an irresistible pull. As she neared, the images within began to coalesce, forming a scene from the past. She saw Evelyn Ravenswood, surrounded by angry villagers, her hands raised in a gesture of both defiance and protection. It's showing us the night of Evelyn's supposed execution, Sarah murmured. But as they watched, the scene shifted. Instead of fire consuming Evelyn, a burst of blinding light emanated from her hands. The villagers were thrown back, and then they simply vanished. One by one, they faded from view, leaving Evelyn alone in the night. They didn't disappear, Sarah realized, her voice filled with awe. Evelyn saved them. She sent them somewhere else. But why? As if in answer to her question, the orb's surface rippled. New images appeared, glimpses of a world just beyond their own, a place where the missing villagers lived on, untouched by time. It's a pocket dimension, Lily breathed. Evelyn created a whole other world to protect them and herself from the witch hunts. But something went wrong. They got trapped there. Sarah's mind raced, putting the pieces together. And now, every generation, Ravenswood is called back to try and break the spell. To free them all. The orb pulsed with light, and suddenly, Sarah heard Evelyn's voice again, as clear as if she were standing right beside her. The key lies in balance, child. Between this world and the other. Between past and present. Between magic and mundane. Only one who bridges all can undo what's been done. As the voice faded, Sarah felt a surge of power coursing through her veins. She understood now why she had been chosen, why she could hear the whispers and see the things others couldn't. She was the bridge. I know what we have to do, Sarah said, turning to Lily with determination burning in her eyes. But it's not going to be easy. We need to find a way to open a portal between our world and Evelyn's pocket dimension. And to do that, we're going to need help from both sides of the veil. Lily nodded, a mixture of fear and excitement on her face. Where do we start? Sarah looked around the chamber, at the books filled with ancient knowledge, at the chronosphere still swirling with visions of the past. We start here, she said. We learn everything we can about Evelyn's magic, about the nature of this curse. And then we gather our allies. As if responding to her words, the manor above them creaked and shifted. Sarah could feel it. The house itself was awakening, aligning itself with her purpose. The next phase of their quest was about to begin. Little did Sarah know the challenges ahead would test not only her newfound abilities, but also her understanding of family, sacrifice, and the very nature of reality itself. The curse of Ravenswood Manor had endured for centuries. Now, with Sarah's return, the final chapter of this ghostly saga was about to unfold. Allies from beyond. The days that followed were a blur of research and discovery. Sarah and Lily pored over the ancient tomes in the hidden library, deciphering cryptic texts and unraveling the complex web of magic that Evelyn had woven centuries ago. The Ravenswood chronosphere became their constant companion, its swirling depths revealing tantalizing glimpses of the past and the shadow world where the villagers remained trapped. As Sarah's understanding of her abilities grew, so did her connection to the manor itself. She found she could navigate its ever-shifting corridors with ease, doors opening to her touch that had remained sealed for generations. The whispers that had once unsettled her now became a source of guidance, the voices of her ancestors offering cryptic clues and warnings. It was on a stormy night, as wind howled around the manor's turrets, that Sarah made a breakthrough. She sat in the study, poring over Evelyn's personal grimoire, when a particular passage caught her eye. To bridge the gap between worlds apart, for elements must play their part. Earth's strength, air's whisper, fire's heart, water's flow, the spell to start. But heed this warning, clear and true, the veil part's not for just a few. A soul from each side must combine to break the curse of Ravenswood's line. Lily, Sarah called out, excitement coloring her voice. I think I've found something. As Lily hurried into the room, Sarah explained her discovery. We need to perform a ritual, but it's not something I can do alone. We need help from both our world and the other side. Lily's brow furrowed. But how can we contact anyone in Evelyn's pocket dimension? We don't even know how to reach it. As if in answer, the chronosphere on the desk began to pulse with an otherworldly light. Sarah approached it cautiously, placing her hands on either side of the glowing orb. As she did, a face shimmered into view, a young man with eyes that seemed to hold centuries of wisdom. Hello? Sarah ventured, hardly daring to believe what was happening. The man's image solidified, and when he spoke, his voice echoed as if from a great distance. I am Thomas, keeper of records in New Haven. We have awaited this moment for generations. Sarah and Lily exchanged astonished glances. New Haven? Lily asked. Thomas nodded. The world Evelyn Ravenswood created for us. We've thrived here, but we've never forgotten our true home. Are you the one who can bring us back? Sarah took a deep breath. I'm going to try, but I'll need help from both sides. Over the next hour, Sarah and Lily explained their plan to Thomas. They would need to gather 4 individuals from the real world, each representing one of the elements mentioned in Evelyn's grimoire. Thomas, in turn, would need to find 4 counterparts in New Haven. The ritual must be performed simultaneously in both worlds, Sarah explained. At the stroke of midnight on Samhain, Halloween, when the veil between worlds is thinnest. Thomas's expression was grave. It won't be easy. There are those here who fear change, who have grown comfortable in this timeless realm. and I imagine you'll face opposition in your world as well. Sarah nodded, thinking of the centuries of secrecy surrounding Ravenswood Manor. We'll find a way. We have to. As they finalized their plans, commotion from outside caught their attention. Sarah rushed to the window, peering out into the storm-lashed night. A group of figures was approaching the manor, carrying torches that sputtered in the wind. Lily, Sarah called, her voice tense. I think we have company. Lily joined her at the window, her face paling at the sight. Oh no, she whispered. It's the Covenant. The what? Sarah asked, but Lily was already hurrying from the room. There's no time to explain, Lily called over her shoulder. We need to secure the manor. They can't be allowed inside, not now, not when we're so close. As Sarah moved to follow her cousin, she cast one last glance at the chronosphere. Thomas's image was fading, but his final words rang clear. Remember, Sarah Ravenswood. The key lies in balance. Trust in yourself, in your legacy. The fate of two worlds rests in your hands. With that, the orb went dark. Sarah steeled herself, feeling the magic of Ravenswood Manor surging around her. Whatever this covenant was, whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them. The final countdown to Samhain had begun. In two worlds, preparations for a ritual centuries in the making were underway. And at the center of it all stood Sarah, the last of the Ravenswood line, poised to either break the curse or be consumed by it. As she hurried to join Lily in defending the manor, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of her true test. The whispers of her ancestors seemed to swell around her, a chorus of hope and warning. Beware the Covenant's ancient might, their fear of change, their dread of light. Stand firm, young heir, and hold your ground, for in your blood the key is found. The storm outside intensified, as if nature itself was responding to the rising tensions. In the distance, a clock began to toll, counting down the hours until Samhain. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of not just Ravenswood Manor, but of two intertwined worlds. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of centuries on her shoulders. It was time to embrace her destiny, to face whatever came next. For better or worse, the final chapter of the Ravenswood saga had begun. The Covenant's challenge. Sarah raced through the twisting corridors of Ravenswood Manor, her heart pounding in sync with the rumbling thunder outside. She found Lily in the grand foyer, hastily drawing symbols on the floor with a piece of chalk. What's going on? Sarah demanded, helping Lily to her feet. Who's the Covenant? Lily's face was grim as she dusted chalk from her hands. They're a secret society dedicated to maintaining the separation between our world and New Haven. They believe that if the barrier falls, it will unleash chaos on both sides. A heavy pounding on the manor's front door punctuated Lily's words. Sarah could feel the wood vibrating under the assault, both physical and magical. How do you know about them? Sarah asked, a note of suspicion creeping into her voice. Lily hesitated, guilt flashing across her face. Because I used to be one of them. before I learned the truth about our family, about you." Sarah reeled from this revelation, but there was no time to process it. The door shuttered again, and she could hear voices chanting in an ancient language. "What do we do?" Sarah asked, pushing aside her questions for now. Lily straightened, determination replacing the guilt in her eyes. "We defend the manor. It has its own defenses, passed down through generations of Ravenswoods. But it needs you, Sarah. Your power, your will." As if responding to Lily's words, the whispers that constantly surrounded Sarah grew louder, more insistent. She could almost make out words now, instructions. Sarah closed her eyes, reaching out with her newfound senses. She could feel the manor around her, a living entity pulsing with centuries of accumulated magic. Guided by instinct and the whispered instructions of her ancestors, she began to chant. The symbols Lily had drawn flared to life, lines of blue fire racing along the floor, up the walls, and across the ceiling. The entire foyer was soon encased in a glowing web of protective magic. Outside, the chanting of the covenant grew more frantic. A burst of energy slammed against the manor's defenses, making the magical barrier flicker. "They're strong," Lily said, her voice tight with worry. "I've never seen them muster this much power before." Sarah gritted her teeth, pouring more of herself into the spell. They've never faced a Ravenswood before. Not like this. As Sarah's power surged, the manor seemed to come alive around them. Suits of armor stepped down from their pedestals, taking up positions around the foyer. Portraits on the walls began to move, their occupants calling out warnings and advice. A particularly violent blast shook the entire building, and Sarah stumbled, nearly losing her concentration. In that moment of weakness, a tendril of dark energy snaked through the defenses, coalescing into the form of a man. He was tall, imposing, dressed in robes that seemed to absorb the light around him. When he spoke, his voice was like gravel. "Sarah Ravenswood. I am Thaddeus Blackthorne, Grand Master of the Covenant. Cease this foolishness at once." Sarah straightened, meeting his gaze defiantly. "I will not. This curse has gone on long enough. It's time to heal the rift between our worlds." Thaddeus's eyes narrowed. "You meddle with forces beyond your understanding, child. The barrier must remain intact for the good of all." "You're wrong," Sarah shot back. "I've seen the truth in the chronosphere. Evelyn never meant for this separation to be permanent. It's time to make things right." A flicker of uncertainty passed over Thaddeus's face, quickly replaced by resolve. "Then you leave us no choice. The Ravenswood line ends tonight." He raised his hands, dark energy crackling between his fingers. But before he could strike, a new voice rang out. "That's quite enough, Thaddeus." Sarah turned to see Ezra, the old groundskeeper, standing at the entrance to one of the manor's many hidden passages. But he looked different now, straight-backed, eyes gleaming with power, his walking stick revealed as an intricately carved staff. "Ezra?" Sarah gasped. "What?" The old man smiled kindly at her. Did you think Ravenswood Manor would be left unguarded all these years? I've been watching over this place, and you, since the day you were born, Sarah. Thaddeus took a step back, genuine fear flashing across his face. The Guardian. It can't be. Ezra's smile turned cold as he faced the Covenant's leader. Oh, but it is. Now, I suggest you and your followers retreat. The girl is under my protection, and the ritual will proceed as destiny demands. For a tense moment, it seemed Thaddeus might press the attack. But then, with a snarl of frustration, he vanished in a swirl of dark energy. Outside, the assault on the manor's defenses ceased. As the magical barrier faded, Sarah sagged with exhaustion. Lily was at her side in an instant, supporting her. Is it over? Sarah asked, looking between Lily and Ezra. The old guardian shook his head. Far from it, I'm afraid. The Covenant will regroup, plan their next move. But for now, we have a reprieve. Lily nodded in agreement. We need to use this time wisely. There's still so much to prepare for the ritual. Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself. You're right. Both of you. And I have a feeling we're going to need all the help we can get. As if in answer to her words, the chronosphere in the study began to pulse with light once more. Sarah could feel it calling to her, promising new revelations, new allies. Come on, she said, straightening. We have work to do. As they made their way back to the study, the portraits lining the halls seemed to watch them with newfound respect. The very air thrummed with anticipation. In two worlds, forces were aligning, pieces falling into place for a confrontation centuries in the making. Sarah could feel the weight of it all pressing down on her, but she refused to buckle. She was a Ravenswood, the heir to a legacy of magic and mystery, and she would see this through, no matter the cost. The clock on the mantel chimed, marking another hour past. Samhain drew ever closer, and with it, the moment that would determine the fate of two worlds. Echoes of destiny. The study was bathed in an otherworldly glow as Sarah, Lily, and Ezra gathered around the pulsing chronosphere. Sarah placed her hands on the orb, feeling the familiar tingle of magic coursing through her veins. The swirling mists within the sphere parted, revealing Thomas's face once more. But this time, he wasn't alone. 3 other figures stood with him, their features blurred but distinct enough to make out their varied appearances. Sarah, Thomas greeted, his voice echoing as if from a great distance. We've made progress on our end. May I introduce our volunteers for the ritual? As Thomas named each figure, their image sharpened into focus. There was Elena, a willowy woman with flowers braided into her hair, representing the element of earth. Next was Zephyr, a man whose silvery hair seemed to constantly move in an unseen breeze, embodying air. Ignacia stood proud, her eyes flickering with an inner fire, the clear choice for fire. Finally, Marina, with her fluid movements and eyes as deep as the ocean, represented water. They've agreed to help us bridge the gap between our worlds, Thomas explained. But they bring warnings as well. The longer our realms remain separated, the more unstable the barrier becomes. If we don't act soon, both worlds could be torn apart. Sarah nodded gravely. We've faced our own challenges here. The Covenant still exists. Elena interrupted, her voice sharp with surprise. You know of them? Lily asked, leaning closer to the chronosphere. Ignatius's image flickered, her voice hot with anger. They were the ones who pushed for Evelyn to be executed in the first place. Their fear of magic, of change, nearly doomed us all. And now they seek to keep the worlds apart, Ezra mused, stroking his beard thoughtfully. Perhaps they fear retribution from those they once persecuted. Sarah's mind raced, piecing together this new information. But that's all the more reason to break the curse. To heal old wounds, not let them fester for eternity. Marina's serene voice cut through the tension. Wise words, young Ravenswood. But wisdom alone will not be enough. Have you found your 4 representatives? Sarah exchanged glances with Lily and Ezra. Not yet. We've been preoccupied. Then that must be your priority, Zephyr insisted, his voice carrying an urgent edge. Time grows short in both our realms. As if to emphasize his point, a tremor ran through Ravenswood Manor. Books tumbled from shelves, and the very air seemed to ripple. What was that? Lily gasped, steadying herself against a desk. Ezra's face was grim. The barrier weakens. We must act quickly. Sarah took a deep breath, centering herself. She could feel the magic of Ravenswood Manor swirling around her, responding to her will. An idea began to form. I think, she said slowly, the manor itself can help us find our representatives. It's been guiding me all along. Why not now? Closing her eyes, Sarah reached out with her senses, allowing the whispers of her ancestors to wash over her. Images flashed through her mind, a greenhouse bursting with plant life, a windswept hilltop, a forge glowing with heat, a secluded pond reflecting the moon. When she opened her eyes, Sarah found everyone watching her intently. I know where to look, she announced. But we'll need to split up. Time is running out. Quick plans were made. Lily would seek out the Earth representative in the manor's long-abandoned greenhouse. Ezra would climb to the manor's highest tower to find their air volunteer. Sarah herself would descend into the cellars, where an old forge lay dormant, to find their fire ally. And for water. The moon pool, Ezra said, nodding in understanding. In the heart of the maze. But be cautious, Sarah. That place is old, its magic wild and unpredictable. As they prepared to set out on their respective missions, Thomas spoke up one last time from the chronosphere. Remember, all 8 participants must be in place when the veil is thinnest at the stroke of midnight on Samhain. Miss that window, and we may not get another chance. Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of 2 worlds on her shoulders. We'll be ready, she promised. As the image in the chronosphere faded, Sarah turned to her companions. Whatever happens, whatever challenges we face, we do this together. For Evelyn, for New Haven, for all those trapped between worlds for too long. Lily and Ezra nodded solemnly. With a shared look of determination, they set off on their separate paths, the fate of two worlds hanging in the balance. Sarah made her way down to the cellars, the whispers of her ancestors growing louder with each step. As she descended deeper into the heart of Ravenswood Manor, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking in Evelyn's footsteps, or tracing a path laid out centuries ago. The old forge came into view, cold and dark after decades of disuse. But as Sarah approached, she felt a spark of something, a presence, a power lying dormant. She reached out, both physically and with her magic, and touched the ancient anvil. Instantly, the forge roared to life. Flames erupted from long cold coals, and the air filled with the ring of hammer on metal. And there, amidst the sudden inferno, stood a figure, a woman with eyes like molten gold and hair that flickered like flames. "I am Bridget," the woman said, her voice carrying the crack and pop of a bonfire. "I have waited long for a Ravenswood to wake me. Tell me, child of two worlds, are you ready to forge a new destiny?" Sarah stood tall, feeling the fire of her own determination rising to meet Bridget's challenge. "I am," she said firmly. "Will you stand with us?" Bridget's smile was as warm as the heart of her forge. "Until the last ember fades." As Sarah and Bridget made their way back up from the cellars, the very foundations of Ravenswood Manor trembled. The barrier between worlds was growing thinner by the minute. Somewhere in the sprawling manor grounds, Lily and Ezra were facing their own challenges, seeking out the remaining elemental representatives. And beyond the manor's walls, Sarah knew the Covenant was regrouping. Thaddeus Blackthorn would not give up so easily. The final confrontation was yet to come. The clock struck 11, its chimes echoing through the manor like a countdown to destiny. 1 hour remained until Samhain. 1 hour to gather their forces, to prepare for a ritual centuries in the making. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the magic of Ravenswood Manor pulsing in time with her own heartbeat. Whatever came next, she was ready to face it. The curse would be broken. Two worlds would be reunited. And the true power of the Ravenswood legacy would finally be unleashed. The veil thins. The grandfather clock in the main hall struck 11, its deep, resonant chimes echoing through Ravenswood Manor like a portent of doom. Sarah and Bridget exchanged glances, both acutely aware of the precious little time remaining. "We must find the others," Sarah said, her voice tight with urgency. As if in response to her words, a gust of wind tore through the hallway, carrying with it the scent of rain and ozone. The tower, Sarah realized. Ezra must have found our air representative. They raced up the winding staircase, the steps creaking and shifting beneath their feet as the manor itself seemed to urge them on. As they burst onto the tower's balcony, they found Ezra standing with a young man who seemed to flicker in and out of solidity, his form partially translucent and swirling with miniature cyclones. "Sarah, meet Gale," Ezra said, his usual calm demeanor tinged with excitement. "He's been haunting these towers for centuries, waiting for this moment." Gale bowed, his movement sending ripples through the air. The wind's whisper of great change, Sarah Ravenswood. "I am honored to lend my essence to your cause." A tremor shook the tower, nearly sending them all stumbling. In the distance, Sarah could see dark storm clouds gathering, flashes of unnatural lightning illuminating their roiling depths. The Covenant, Bridget growled, her hair flaring with flames. They gathered their strength for one final assault. Then we must complete our circle, Sarah said firmly. Lily and our Earth representative should be in the greenhouse. We'll make our way there and then to the moon pool together. As they descended from the tower, the very walls of Ravenswood Manor seemed to shift and twist, revealing hidden passages and shortcuts. Sarah realized the house was actively helping them, guiding their way through its labyrinthine interior. They found Lily in the overgrown greenhouse, kneeling beside a massive, gnarled tree that seemed to have burst through the glass ceiling. Its branches reached towards the storm-darkened sky, leaves rustling with an unseen breeze. "Sarah," Lily called out, relief evident in her voice. "Meet Rowan. She's been here all along." The tree's trunk shimmered, and a woman stepped out as if emerging from water. Her skin was bark-like, her hair a tangle of leaves and flowers. "The roots of Ravenswood run deep," Rowan said, her voice carrying the creaks and groans of an ancient forest. "It's time they bore fruit once more." With all four elemental representatives gathered, a palpable energy filled the air. Sarah could feel the magic of Ravenswood Manor coalescing around them, growing stronger with each passing moment. "The moon pool," Sarah said, knowing instinctively where they needed to go. "Our water representative will meet us there." As they made their way through the manor grounds, the storm intensified. Wind howled through the trees, and the first heavy drops of rain began to fall. In the distance, Sarah could see flickering lights approaching, the Covenant making their final push. They reached the heart of the maze just as the clock began to strike midnight. The moon pool lay before them, its surface black as ink, reflecting the turbulent sky above. As the first chime rang out, a figure rose from the water, a woman formed of liquid and moonlight, her eyes deep as the ocean. "I am Nima," she said, her voice carrying the crash of waves and the whisper of streams. "The last piece of your puzzle, Sarah Ravenswood. Are you ready to bridge the gap between worlds?" Sarah nodded, feeling a lifetime of preparation culminating in this moment. She raised her hands, and the 5 elemental representatives moved to form a circle around her. In her mind's eye, she could see their counterparts in New Haven doing the same around Thomas. As the final chime of midnight faded, Sarah began to chant, the words rising unbidden to her lips, an incantation as old as Ravenswood itself. The air crackled with power, and a column of light burst from the moon pool, shooting into the storm-tossed sky. But just as the ritual reached its crescendo, a blast of dark energy tore through the maze. Thaddeus Blackthorn strode forward, his followers arrayed behind him, their faces twisted with fear and determination. "Stop this madness!" Thaddeus roared, his voice nearly lost in the howling wind. "You'll doom us all." Sarah felt her concentration waver, the delicate balance of energies threatening to collapse. But then she felt a presence beside her, Evelyn Ravenswood, shimmering and translucent, but undeniably there. "Finish what I started, child," Evelyn's spirit whispered. "Heal the rift. Bring balance to both worlds." Drawing strength from her ancestors' presence, Sarah redoubled her efforts. The elemental representatives poured their power into her, and she felt herself becoming a conduit between worlds. In New Haven, Thomas and his circle were doing the same. The veil between worlds stretched, thinned, and finally tore. A blinding light engulfed them all as reality itself seemed to warp and bend. Sarah felt as if she were being pulled in 1,000 directions at once, her very essence scattered across two worlds. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. Sarah found herself standing in the moon pool, the water lapping gently at her waist. Around her, the elemental representatives from both worlds stood in a unified circle. The storm had cleared, and the night sky above was filled with more stars than Sarah had ever seen. But the most astonishing sight was the manor itself. Ravenswood Manor now stood astride two worlds, parts of it shifting and flickering between realities. And all around, spirits and corporeal forms mingled, the villagers of New Haven reunited with the world they had left behind centuries ago. Thaddeus Blackthorn and his followers stood at the edge of the clearing, their expressions a mix of awe and fear. "What have you done?" Thaddeus whispered. Sarah stepped out of the pool, feeling the power of both worlds flowing through her. "What Evelyn always intended," she said. "I've brought balance, healed the rift. Our worlds are one again, as they always should have been." As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, illuminating a world forever changed, Sarah knew that her journey was far from over. There would be challenges ahead, helping the people of New Haven reintegrate, dealing with the remnants of the Covenant, learning to control the new magics unleashed by the merging of worlds. But as she looked around at her allies, old and new, Sarah felt ready to face whatever came next. The curse of Ravenswood Manor was broken, and a new chapter in the family's legacy was about to begin. A new dawn. In the weeks that followed the merging of worlds, Ravenswood Manor became a beacon of hope and a symbol of change. The once imposing structure now shimmered with an otherworldly light, parts of it shifting between realities like a mirage in the desert. It stood as a bridge between what was once two separate worlds, its doors open to all who sought understanding and reconciliation. Sarah Ravenswood, now recognized as the catalyst of this great change, found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Each day brought new challenges and discoveries as the people of New Haven and the modern world learned to coexist. On a crisp autumn morning, Sarah stood on the manor's highest balcony, overlooking the grounds where New Haven refugees and curious visitors from the modern world mingled. Lily joined her, a steaming mug of tea in each hand. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Lily said, handing Sarah one of the mugs. "I never imagined I'd see anything like this in my lifetime." Sarah nodded, her eyes tracking the ethereal forms of New Haven citizens as they marveled at smartphones and laptops brought by eager researchers and journalists. "It's beautiful," she agreed, "but it's not without its challenges." As if to emphasize her point, a commotion broke out near the edge of the property. Sarah could see Ezra and Rowan hurrying to mediate between a group of former Covenant members and some of the more vocal New Haven citizens. "The Covenant is still causing trouble?" Lily asked, frowning. "Some of them," Sarah sighed. "Thaddeus and his inner circle disappeared the night of the merging. But many of the lower-ranking members are lost, scared. They're struggling to accept this new reality. A gentle breeze carried Gale's voice to them. Fear often breeds conflict, the air spirit said as he materialized beside them. But in time, understanding will grow. Already, many are beginning to see the beauty in our merged world. Sarah smiled at her ethereal friend. You're right, of course. And we're making progress every day. Indeed, for every moment of tension, there were dozens of positive interactions. Sarah watched as Thomas, now serving as an ambassador for the New Haven people, led a group of wide-eyed historians through the manor's ever-shifting halls. In the gardens, Bridget was demonstrating her mastery of fire to a captivated audience, while Marina used her command of water to help restore the long-neglected fountains to their former glory. Have you had any luck deciphering more of Evelyn's writings? Lily asked, changing the subject. Sarah shook her head. Not as much as I'd like. There's still so much we don't understand about how she created New Haven in the first place, or why the separation lasted so long. And then there's this. She pulled a folded piece of parchment from her pocket, covered in intricate diagrams and cryptic notations. I found this hidden in a secret compartment in Evelyn's study. It seems to hint at other realms, other dimensions beyond just our world and New Haven. Lily's eyes widened. You mean there could be more out there? More worlds to discover? Possibly, Sarah said, her voice a mix of excitement and trepidation. But after everything we've been through, I think it's best we focus on stabilizing our newly merged world before we go looking for others. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Sarah could see more visitors arriving at the manor's gates. Scientists eager to study the unique properties of this merged reality. Diplomats seeking to establish relations with the New Haven government. And ordinary people drawn by curiosity and the promise of magic. We should head down, Sarah said, finishing her tea. The first Integration Council meeting is set to start soon. As they made their way through the manor, portraits of Ravenswood ancestors nodded approvingly. The house itself seemed to hum with contentment, its rooms rearranging to accommodate the influx of visitors from two worlds. In the grand ballroom, now serving as a meeting hall, representatives from both worlds were gathering. Sarah took her place at the head of the table, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. But as she looked around at the faces of her friends and allies, Lily, Ezra, the elemental spirits, Thomas, and so many others, she felt a surge of confidence. Welcome, everyone, Sarah began, her voice carrying easily through the room. We've come here today to continue the work of building bridges between our peoples. There will be challenges ahead, misunderstandings to overcome, and wounds to heal. But together, I believe we can create a future brighter than either of our worlds could have imagined separately. As the meeting commenced, Sarah couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning. The merging of worlds had opened up countless possibilities, and while the road ahead might be difficult, it was also filled with promise. Outside the manor, the sun shone brightly on a world forever changed. In the gardens, flowers from New Haven bloomed alongside roses from the modern world. Children from both realms played together, their laughter a testament to the adaptability of youth. And in the sky, If one looked closely, they might catch a glimpse of reality's shifting, a reminder of the magic that now infused every aspect of life. Ravenswood Manor stood tall, a sentinel watching over this brave new world. And within its ever-changing walls, Sarah Ravenswood prepared to write the next chapter in her family's extraordinary legacy. As night fell and the manor settled into its nocturnal rhythms, Sarah stood once more on the balcony. The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if the merging of worlds had opened up new vistas in the cosmos itself. A soft whisper caught her attention, the familiar voice of Evelyn Ravenswood, her ancestral guide. "You've done well, my child," the spectral voice murmured. "But remember, every ending is also a beginning. Your journey, the journey of the Ravenswood line, is far from over." Sarah smiled, feeling a mixture of anticipation and resolve. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever new mysteries the merged worlds might reveal, she was ready to face them. The curse was broken, but the magic of Ravenswood Manor lived on. And with it, the promise of adventures yet to come. The end.